Steam Deck OLED is here. You don't need it. While it has a ton of worthwhile improvements, this is not an upgrade you should go for. At first glance, you can't really tell the differences between the original Steam Deck and the new OLED versions, but once you turn them on, you'll quickly see the most noticeable improvement the OLED versions have over the OG, the new 7.4-inch OLED screen. This display is bigger, brighter, and has much better color saturation than the original LCD. Colors pop vibrantly, especially the reds, greens, and blues. However, you may handicap your screen upgrade based on your selected OLED version. Valve increased the overall storage you can get built into the system. The 512 gig version uses a glossy screen that is prone to glare but gives you the full OLED experience. But either of the 1 terabyte versions give you a matte anti-glare coating. We actually prefer the 512's OLED screen to the 1 terabyte since the anti-glare coating actually diminishes the color richness you get with the new screen. Black levels aren't as dark and the colors are somewhat muted when you compare the screens directly. Although the coating changes how these screens look, all versions of the OLED come with a higher 90 Hz refresh rate over the OG 60 Hz. Higher refresh rates help certain games to look better, and they also help games feel better to play. Digital Foundry found that games on the OLED have less input lag than the LCD models from the faster refresh rate. The results are sometimes middling, but they are improvements most of the time. And the best thing that Valve did with this screen is that they actually made it capable of HDR. It has a brightness of 600 nits when you're doing standard definition and up to 1000 nits when you're doing HDR content, which makes games look brighter and punchier than they've ever been before. And thankfully, they've given that to you on all 3 of the OLED models. So it's not just the contrast that's happening, but it's also the difference between the bright and dark scenes that are happening on your game. However, I did notice while I was playing games over remote play, there appears to be a bug on the OLED models where if you launch streaming within the actual game launcher, the gamma levels are completely wrong. So even when you're outside, everything looks way too dark. You have to exit out and go to desktop mode and then start streaming from there in order for games to actually look the proper colors. Hopefully Valve fixes that in a software update. And most benchmarks coming out show that the Steam Deck OLED delivers around 5% performance increase due to a few changes under the hood, like faster memory speed. But that's not gonna be enough in most games to get you from 60 FPS to 90 to enjoy that higher refresh rate. In addition to the new screen is a bigger battery. The OLEDs all come with a 50 watt-hour battery over the original's 40 watt-hour in the LCD models. Battery stamina is much better in the OLED thanks to the bigger capacity and the more efficient processor. We definitely noticed an uptick in playtime when playing natively. You'll see anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours of extra battery stamina when playing demanding games like Control or Cyberpunk 2077, and even more at lower TDPs. Games like Abzu, Worldless, and Hades all lasted hours longer than what we're used to on the OGs, and they all looked even better with the improved screens. Charging also got some updates, as the batteries can now go from 20% to 80% much quicker. Valve says the battery can reach 80% from 20 in about 40 minutes, but our test saw it take about 56 minutes of charging, and going from 0 to 100 will actually take about 2 hours, with 1 hour being that 80 to 100%. And another improvement that was made is the inclusion of Wi-Fi 6E. With that upgrade, you can now access a 6 GHz band that enables even faster game download speeds when connected to a capable router. You won't see any increases in speed unless you already have Wi-Fi 6E router set up at home, but you will notice it if you do. And in fact, I recently upgraded my entire operation from 802.11ac to 6E, and my speeds saw a 3 to 4 times improvement just walking around the house. But also with that updated network protocol, you get access to less latency when playing games through Steam Link and Remote Play. I spent a lot of my Thanksgiving break playing Returnal over Remote Play, and the latency is nearly non-existent even at the highest data rate modes. And thanks to the deeper black levels on the OLED screen, as well as the new efficiency upgrades in the Wi-Fi 6E, this was the best way that I could possibly play Returnal and still be around for the holidays. And if you're looking to play games this holiday season like I am, you should check out today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Green Man Gaming, who currently has their Black Friday sale going on right now. If you've been looking to pick up a game for this holiday season for yourself or for a loved one, you should definitely check out Green Man Gaming first. They have top deals like on Starfield, where you can get it for 25% off. Hogwarts Legacy, the PC edition, is 49% off. Mortal Kombat 1 Premium Edition for the PC is 40% off. And Street Fighter 6 for the PC is 43% off. Or you've got favorites of mine, like Horizon Zero Dawn, which is currently 78%
28% off on Green Man Gaming, or Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for PC is also 20% off. They've got unmissable discounts so you can power up your playtime with unbeatable deals on the hottest titles this Black Friday. And just a couple of other fan favorites that I have. Control is currently 79% off. Frostpunk, which is one of my favorite dark games of all time, is 84% off, or you can even save 20% off on an indie favorite like Dave the Diver. So you can upgrade your gaming collection without downgrading your bank account with Green Man Gaming this holiday season, specifically for their Black Friday sale. You can check it out at the link in the description. We'll have all of the games that I mentioned here today down there in case you're interested, but check them out for all the other sales that they have going on, because they have tons of games on sale right now. So big thanks to Green Man Gaming for sponsoring today's video.
And there are other improvements, such as the lighter weight, improved thermals, louder speakers, and many other quality of life updates that you may notice. And all of these new additions are welcome, but that's about it regarding the significant differences between the OLEDs and the OGs. The smaller die on the APU mainly improves the battery life, while performance is close to identical with a few more frames depending on the game. And the new screen helps make games look better than ever before on the Steam Deck, but honestly, it is not worth dropping over $500 on upgrading to the OLED model. Valve doesn't have a trade-in program, so you'll likely have to sell your original on a place like eBay. And at the time of recording, you're looking at about only $300 for the max capacity OG version, which means you'll need to spend 70 to 80% more to get an OLED version of the Steam Deck. Now, just to trigger people a little bit, you could buy a digital PS5 and a PlayStation Portal for the same amount or even less. And we're not saying that the OLED models aren't the best way to use a Steam Deck, because that's absolutely true. If you don't already have a Steam Deck, this is the best entry into handheld PCs, bar none. It's just not a worthwhile upgrade if you already have one, especially because gaming performance is going to be close to identical. You are going to see some improvements from the 90 Hz refresh rate, but one of the biggest advancements that Valve's going to be making is bringing SteamOS to other handhelds that have seen a power update, like the Lenovo Legion Go. Valve has said that their priority was getting the OLEDs out the door, and now they're going to be investigating bringing SteamOS to other gaming handheld devices, which will get you a much bigger upgrade, considering the fact that this is only $20 more than the limited edition Steam Deck. You're getting significantly more performance, a bigger screen, a higher refresh rate. It is not OLED, which is a downfall, but SteamOS coming to these varied handhelds is a much bigger upgrade than actually the OLED is. And one of the most controversial takes that I've had on the Steam Deck since it released is the fact that on day one, it was already underpowered. Valve's choice to use some outdated technology means that it quickly got outpaced by the likes of the Legion Go and the ROG Ally. And so with just a screen update and a process shrink, you are still dealing with the biggest limitation that the Steam Deck had to offer. It is not great if you are trying to play your entire game library on this handheld. It's great for things like remote play, you're getting a much better setup, but to spend an extra $200 after you sold your original Steam Deck, I really don't think it's worth it. But then there's also options like upgrading your current Steam Deck that you should consider. And we have some ways that you can do it for far cheaper than upgrading to the OLED. You can upgrade your screen from 800p to 1200p with something like the Deck HD. The Deck HD gives you a 1920 by 1200 screen for the original Steam Deck with an 87% color gamut and anti-glare coating, similar to the 1TB OLED, for only $100. It won't look as good as an OLED, but you'll still have a much better screen than you did at launch. And I think this is one of the areas where Valve dropped the ball. There are some reasons why you cannot put the OLED screen onto the original Steam Deck, but I do think that Valve could have innovated in a way where they could have made it a drag and drop replacement, and they're choosing not to, which makes it a little frustrating because they're forcing you to upgrade instead of giving you the option to do something like a part swap yourself. But in case you are interested in doing things like part swapping, you can upgrade the sticks as well, which is something that Valve did not do. They changed the color, they made it black instead of gray or orange on the limited edition, but the OLED still uses analog sticks, which can be prone to stick drift. To combat that, you can get some Hall Effect sticks from Ghoulie Kit. Hall Effect sticks use magnets to determine positional data, which makes them far more durable and less likely to experience any type of drift. They typically run for like $30, but you can snag them for a little over $20 at the time of recording. And the last upgrade you can make comes in the form of a new SSD. Why shell out $650 for the 1TB of storage when you can install it for only $129? We've seen deals for this WD Black SSD for as low as $80 online, which is more than enough space for all of your favorite games. But those of you who already took the plunge and got the new Steam Decks will be happy to know that all of your existing accessories for the system will work perfectly fine. That includes all of the deck accessories, debrands, kill switch case, and skins, because Valve did keep the dimensions of both devices the same. And I want to be clear, we love almost everything about the Steam Deck OLED. Games do look so much better on this new screen, and the battery lets you play for far longer than the OGs. You're just not getting an upgrade over the LCD models in terms of actual performance, which was the biggest limitation of the Steam Deck at launch and still is currently. I think for spending a minimum of $550 on the 512 gig version of the OLED Steam Deck, you're better off getting different experiences elsewhere. Something like a PS5 is going for $350 on eBay right now, and you pair that with the Portal, you are getting a faster and more compelling game experience than you currently have on the Steam Deck. You can get the same advantages that the Portal has if you have a PlayStation or a PC to stream games from, like I do, but that requires a much higher investment. When AAA games like Cyberpunk only run at 30 to 40 FPS on the Steam Deck and you're giving it a 90 Hz OLED upgrade, you're missing the ability to play games in a new way that you couldn't do before. This metaphor might get a little stretched, but I think it's very similar to fixing up an old car. Yes, you might have a new paint job. Yes, it might look better than ever before. You don't have power steering, you don't have efficiency, you don't have the horsepower that we have in modern cars, and also you don't have the crash protection that you get with modern crumple zones, which you might think that older vehicles are better. And this metaphor already fell apart, but that's my point. They are dressing up a device that could have benefited more from extra performance than it could from just a new paint job. But what Valve has proven is that you can put an OLED display on a handheld PC and still have it sell at a reasonable price point. And it makes me mad that companies like Lenovo and Asus didn't put OLED on devices like the Legion Go or the Ally because it would have made them the best looking handhelds on the market. But I think if you've never had a Steam Deck and want to join the handheld PC space, there's no better entry-level device than the Steam Deck LCD. Picking up one of the originals is going to make far more sense, because otherwise you are spending premium level pricing that you could get on something like a faster device on something that just has a very pretty screen. And while this is the best the Steam Deck has ever been, it'd be better if they updated the hardware on the internals, and I would still recommend the LCD version as the one that people should consider.